Hey guys, it's Joe. Welcome to another episode of Truth Be Told by Everyday People. As you know, this is a non-political show, and we want to keep it that way. And just some things are going to go wrong here. Like last time, the dogs knocked down the cameras and the lights. We leave that on. We're not going to cut it off. We did that before when we were doing straight talk, and just everything, stuff like that happens to everything people. And with me today is Jeff Cummings. Jeff,
good morning.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Richmond Hill, Queens, New York. Real great town back then. It was a real neighborhood. Everybody knew each other. Everybody, if you got yelled at by one of the neighbors, it was like getting yelled at from your parents. Kids all over the place. Everybody knew everybody, like I said. It was just a fun time. You had parks all over the place. You had a boys club there, and it was just a nice place. Very diversified. Italians, Germans, Irish and Germans, Polish. Everybody was in that neighborhood, and that's why it was called a neighborhood. Nowadays everything's a community.
Yeah.
And my opinion is, I don't know what generation we're in now, but the generation I grew up, it was a neighborhood. Now nobody talks to each other, who's better than who or thinks they're better than who. And it's just not right. You got the baby boomers, the millennials, the Generation X. Back in the day, it was you were old, middle-aged, and young.
Right.
And that was the game of cards. But as far as Richmond Hill, what a great neighborhood.
You don't see the old things with kids out playing stickball in the street.
Especially in the summer.
Kickball.
Yeah, especially in the summer. You were out in the streets from 8 o'clock in the morning until the street lights came on, and you had to be on your block.
Right.
The older people, the mothers and fathers, and even grandparents, they were out sitting on the stoop. And who'd bring out coffee? They'd bring out stuff for the kids.
Like your phone, Jeff.
So
he wants to get in the show.
That's what made it real good. Again, you were on the block. The sun was down. The street lights were on, but you were on somebody's stoop, or
right.
you're sitting out in front of the house. And the kids, there was stuff for the kids as long as you were on the block.
Guys, let me remind you, my dogs are here. My dogs go where I go, and that's the way it is. So if he makes a little noise or he knocks something over, don't be surprised. So from there, Jeff, you grew up, you're into high school. Where'd you go from there?
In high school, I picked up, at 13 years old, I started playing basketball. Because back in the day, I was a white guy that could jump. Really, I'm serious. And I played all over the city. I played against NBA ball players. I played against Division I college guys. I played there was a little court, West 4th Street in the Village. And there were guys there that should have been in the NBA, were Division I basketball players. And I was able to get on that court and got my butt kicked. But it was the point of getting and playing with all this competition.
So you're saying from some of these guys should have went pro?
Yes.
Why didn't they?
Maybe a little something in the past, not really team ball players. There's a lot of reasons. Then I used to play down Rockaway Beach. There was another, not the best of courts, and it was down below the boardwalk.
Okay.
And on a Saturday and Sunday, you would have guys waiting for a half hour, 45 minutes just to play on that court. Because on the boardwalk were all kinds of scouts and colleges and stuff like that watching these games.
Okay.
Picking out guys and seeing if they were going to college, if they would go to that college and stuff like that. A couple of guys that were wound up, they weren't in the NBA then, but they wound up in the NBA. I used to play against these guys. So it was all about improving your game by playing the competition out there.
So what about you? Were you close at any point of going on to college ball?
I had a couple of scholarship offers, and I just never went because I wasn't fond of school. I wasn't a real bad student. It's just that it didn't interest me. There was a Boys and Girls Club in my neighborhood, and I started out as a member. Then I was a counselor for mostly in the gym. Then I became athletic director and head coach. In that time, a guy I used to play ball with had a couple of connections, and I worked a basketball camp at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania. So the head coach there was a coach Jim Valvano, who nowadays you have the ESPY Awards for athletes, and he's the reason for the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research. I played and worked for him, and he was trying to get me to go to Bucknell University to play on his team. Jeff, I got a spot for you, this, that, and the other thing. You know, you got to come. I said, Coach, listen, I make more money in this park playing basketball than why do I want to come to Bucknell University? And that was basically it. I had no regrets. I mean, you know, school would have been all right and everything. I would have been playing good ball, but it just didn't interest me. Okay. I wasn't a school person.
So from there, what does Jeff end up doing?
Okay, I was working at the boys' club. I went and I worked for a plumber.
Okay.
For about 5 years, and then the city job called me.
Okay.
So I started in August of '79 for the Department of Sanitation, and gradual titles. I started out as a service worker. I took a test, went to senior auto service worker, then I went to mechanic. And some of the places I worked in were unbelievable. The first 9 years I was on was the old West Side Highway in Manhattan at 57th and whatever that avenue is. I don't even think it's still West Side. No, what is it? 12th Avenue? I don't know. So, and I would go there, and it had a ramp going up from 57th Street up to the second floor where we worked on the trucks.
Okay.
Across the road was the Red Parrot, I guess, dance club or whatever.
Okay.
So they couldn't park on 57th Street because the cops would ticket them left and right. So we had a lot of room up on the second floor. So I would let cars park up there for a nominal fee.
Oh boy.
So I was an enterprising young man.
Shaking people down.
No. I was providing a service.
Right. There's a lot of services in New York at that time.
Oh my God. Then, so that was one part of it. Then we had a young man who used to go around to these cars, because there were some pretty expensive cars, and he would acquire their radios.
Oh boy.
So I don't use the word steal. I use acquire or obtain or whatever. So he would come and he'd sell these radios to the mechanics, to the sanitation workers and stuff. So he took a Blaupunk radio out of a Mercedes, which I purchased, and put it in a Volkswagen Bug.
Oh boy.
But anyway, he eventually got caught, and they beat the living hell out of this kid.
Oh.
Yeah, he was all busted up, and
now who?
I assume the owner.
Okay.
Of the.
I didn't know if you meant the police or something.
No. There's another story with that too, but somebody got a hold of this kid, and they beat the living hell out of him. So now 2 weeks later, he's back on 57th Street and the side road, grabbing radios. Yeah, so that was, and then before the Red Parrot, it was a cab company. So one truck comes up, and they had what they called like a paper bin on the side. This is before recycling. And in there's like half a dozen or so bowling balls. So me and my partner up there, we went bowling for taxis.
Oh,
We'd
boy.
have the ball going down the ramp,
Hitting taxi cabs?
Trying to.
Oh, boy. How old were you then?
25,
25.
26. So,
Did you hit any of the cabs?
one.
So,
But they didn't care. They just drove into the. They didn't care. So.
the one guy I grew up, I thought but you beat him. He used to take chestnuts and throw them at the hubcaps of cars when they went by, and then he'd take off. But
Yeah.
the bowling ball is a little more dangerous.
Well, even if they came looking for us, that building was so big, they would
Never
found
found you.
us. Yeah, no. So, and then after that, the Red Parrot was there, and apparently there was a shooting or something. And I'm up on the second floor in the mechanic's office, and all of a sudden the door comes busting open, guns drawn. Oh, whoa, pal, oh. Apparently, whoever the gunman was ran up the ramp into our building.
Oh,
So they were searching every place, everything. So yeah, go do what you got to do, pal. But please, you
don't
know,
shoot me.
they can't. Yeah. Oh, and then one night, I'm standing on the corner. It was real summer night. It was around prom time. I guess would be around now.
Okay.
And I see this unmarked car sitting on the corner, or in between two garbage trucks. And here comes racing down 12th Avenue, I'm going to call it, was this big Continental limo. Well, they come out. He tries to avoid them. They start opening fire on the limo.
What?
And he's backing up. And they drag him out because he hit one of those concrete dividers, the highway divider, like, because they were doing construction. He backs into this thing. And, he's got nowhere to go now. Two detectives, guns drawn. They shot a couple of shots at the windshield. They pull him out, and they put the gun to the back of his head.
Yeah.
And he's screaming, don't shoot, don't shoot. So they cuffed him and everything. So everybody and his brother shows up. So I find out the shoot team shows up because there were guns fired. So I go back upstairs. I'm having a cup of coffee, same mechanic's office, and in comes these detectives, these suits. You saw what went on? Yeah. So wasn't it that he was trying to drive to run the detectives over? I said, no, not at all. I said, he was backing up to get away from them, and they opened fire on the limo. Oh, we don't want to talk to you.
Now, you were over there at that time, too. It had to be during Berkowitz shooting people.
Oh, yeah. I was in Queens, and he managed to find his way in Queens. And, he'd go, we had Forest Park there, which had like Lover's Lanes and stuff. I don't know if he ever went there, but he was around. And when I was working for the plumber, I think he was in an apartment in Yonkers, if I remember right. And the plumber and I was a helper, we worked about 2 blocks away from his apartment.
Oh, really?
Like a week before they caught up to him.
Now, what was your feeling there? Because there's two sides to this. Some say Berkowitz did it himself. Others say there had to be more than one shooter.
I kind of go with the first theory that he did it himself. Yeah. Not for anything else. I haven't heard that other theory until much later on.
Okay.
So what went on in those days is pretty much kind of what I thought.
And was it you're young then? Was it as terrifying? People, they look back now. This is really terrifying. Is that how it looked in the city? Well,
yeah, because I was dating at the time. I had a nice '66 Lincoln Continental with tinted windows. So everybody was on edge. Yeah, that city was on edge for that. So it was interesting times.
Okay. So from bowling to cabs. Now wait, we'll ask you, since we're on I don't want to say crazy people, whatever. You had a well-known neighbor, right, that used to say hi to you every day?
Oh, you mean John?
John, yeah.
Well, in Richmond Hill, it went from Richmond Hill to Ozone Park. I don't know how they cut it up. But where I was, you had Aqueduct Racetrack, you had Kennedy Airport, not too far, And when I worked for sanitation, I actually worked in the garage right by Kennedy Airport, and they had been filming Goodfellas.
Okay.
And the scene where you see who played Jimmy the Gent, he pushes over the
De Niro.
De Niro. He pushes over the phone booth and everything. That's the airport diner. That's a real diner.
Okay.
And it was not too far from the garage.
Okay.
And then there's one scene in like a bar or something where Joe Pesci shoots the kid that's, the waiter or something.
Yeah.
He shoots the kid. That was a real bar restaurant on Lefferts Boulevard near Rockaway Boulevard.
Okay.
So had that kind of stuff going on. But then in Ozone Park, 101st Avenue, was the Bergen Fish and Hunt Club.
Okay.
Where John Gotti was there, and there was a bank on the corner. That had to be the safest bank in New York. Anyway, so I go to that's the bank I used. Okay. So I would walk past the Bergen Fish and Hunt Club, and John would be out there, Sammy the Bull, Junior, Peter Gotti, who I found out later on worked for sanitation. And I'd go by, I'd say hello, morning guys, once in a while I got a wave or, but nothing, really, I didn't stand there and, shake hands, talk to them, light up a cigarette or nothing. It was just being friendly.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, you talk about block party. This guy knew how to throw a block party because there was a church not too far away. And they used to do like was it Feast of St. Gennaro? 101st Avenue was similar to that.
Okay.
And he was behind the whole celebration. 4th of July, fireworks, barbecues, stuff like that. Until Mayor Giuliani got his hands on the whole deal.
And you and John, you didn't care for Giuliani. Were other people?
Oh, not at all.
And what was it about Giuliani?
Well, I worked for him, technically, working for sanitation. He was the mayor. And what happened there was, as far as I remember, is his first term, the contracts were coming up, the city, and he didn't want to do anything for us. Oh, I got nothing, this, that, and the other thing, until he was convinced he was getting a second term. Then everything was fine, the books opened up, and we got our contract settled. So I wasn't a big fan of him anyway. And then 9/11 happened, and he's crouching behind the doorway. Come on.
Oh, okay.
Well, nobody knew exactly what to expect.
Right.
But I wasn't a big fan of his. And and 9/11, I got called into work, and I was supposed to be in for 6, but the New Jersey state troopers didn't believe me, and I had to go through about 10 or 12 stops, show my identification. They searched my car, they frisked me, until I got to, I believe it's Fort Lee, where the entrance to the bridge is. Nice. I don't know if he was a regular police person or captain or whatever he was. Went through the whole routine, and he looked at me and he said, "Well, you be careful in there." I said, "Well," because nobody knew what to expect. Right. I said, "You guys be careful here." And at the time, it was about, 20 to 10 at night, quarter to 10. I was one of the only cars on the upper level of the George Washington Bridge going into the city.
You probably drive going, I hope they're not going to blow the bridge.
No, I kept looking around because I had heard that might be a target.
Right.
I'm looking around. The best part of it was they didn't charge me the toll.
Really? That's the best part. Coming out alive was a second.
I didn't get blown up. I didn't pay the toll. Who's got it better than me?
Now, sports-wise, you must have been dabbling in boxing?
Well, at the boys, I'm sorry, I keep going back and forth, but at the Boys and Girls Club.
We just break it up.
Yeah,
so the
at
way
the
you
Boys
want to
and Girls Club, when we were there, my wife was the office manager, and she practically ran that club. my son was a little guy at the time. He was in like preschool or nursery school, whatever they called it. But there was a boxing gym upstairs. And it was run by a guy, Tommy Gallagher, who was, he was a champion he was Golden Glove middleweight champ, I think. And he used to have all these professionals come to train for their fights and everything. Plus the kids could come up to the gym, watch these guys. He was even giving boxing lessons to the kids of the club and everything if they were interested. And he was another character. But my son, for some reason, there's a Golden Gloves champ, Mark Breland, who I think he's like 5-time Golden Glove champ or 4, whatever. He used to come to the gym and he would work out and stuff like that. And he took a liking to my son because back then Brian had like the Bart Simpson with the spikes.
Okay.
And Mark, and they started calling my son Spike. So he would go up there with Mark, and Mark gave him all kinds of autographed pictures and everything. But Brian was a little guy. But he would take Mark's hand. Mark would come in, say hello to my wife. Is Spike around? And go get Brian. And he'd go up to the gym. They all knew Brian as Spike. So Mark Breland was very good friends with Mike Tyson. So the night before we met Tyson, he had the big blowout with, what was his wife at the time? Robin Givens.
Oh, Robin Givens, yes.
And I guess they lived in Jersey at
right.
the time.
Up here, was it Bedminster, I think it was.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I guess he went and hooked up with Mark Breland, stayed with him the night. So Mark was coming to the gym. He brings Tyson along with him. So apparently Breland was telling Mike Tyson all about Spike. So Tyson comes in and Mark introduces him to my wife. And out of Mike's mouth comes, "Hey, where's this kid Spike? I want to meet Spike. I heard so much about Spike." So he'll be here later. So they go up into the gym. So I go pick Brian up at nursery school, bring him back to the club. Because I was the building super then.
Oh, okay.
That was my building. And so I bring Brian in. Naturally, he's got to go see Mom. So she says, "Mike Tyson's upstairs." He's with Mark. Yeah. I said, "Come on, Brian, we'll go see the champ. We'll go up to the gym. Mark's up there. Everybody's up there." I don't feel like. Come on, Brian. You have a chance to meet Mike Tyson. He's the world heavyweight champ. What, are you kidding me? I want to play foosball. The third time. "Brian, come on. Let's go meet the champ, and you come back and play foosball." "All right, but no pictures."
No pictures?
This is a 4-year-old kid. You kidding me or what? So I take him up there, and Tyson's sitting all the way in the corner. "Hey, Spike, come on over here." I shook Tyson's hand. I lost mine. His thighs were like, I put my both together. That's his thighs. He was but he wasn't a big man, but he was, oh my God, he was so gentle with my son, put him up on his, but I never saw such a difference in a man. You see him in the ring, he wants to put his fist through your chest. And here he's got a 4-year-old on his knee, and he was the most gentle person I ever met. And you see such a big difference in these guys. And all the guys are great outside the ring.
Oh, really? Okay. Outside
the ring, they are real gentlemen. Real gentlemen. And it was just something.
Now, you went from there, or before there, or which way it went, you used to take care of all the squad cars out there too, right?
Oh, when I was a mechanic, I wound up in a Harlem garage.
Okay.
And I think it was the 25th precinct was not too far away. And working nights. I worked 98% of the time I was on a city job, I was nights.
Okay.
So, and that garage was one of the few garages that had gasoline. Everybody else had diesel. This particular garage had gasoline. So the 25th precinct used to come in, unmarked cars, marked cars, whatever it was. So I got friendly with these guys from some kind of task force, unmarked cars, plain clothes, and they'd come in and they say, "Hey Jeff, it's knocking. No oil in the thing." I put oil in there. "Hey Jeff, the driver's seat is broken. Prop something up there so the driver." I said to the guy, I said, "Don't your police have any mechanics?" I said, "What do you use them for, target practice or what?" "Yeah, but if we send the car in, we'll never get it back. We'll get even a worse piece of crap."
Yeah.
So I got friendly with these guys. All of a sudden, now this garage had one big main garage door on the one end,
Right.
and two big garage doors on the other end where they used to come into the gas pumps. So one night, plain unmarked car comes in, and it's the two officers that I usually were friendly with. And all of a sudden, two guys get out of the back. One was the sergeant. They introduced me. "Hey, Sarge, how you doing?" "Oh, thanks for taking care of the guys and the cars and everything." "Oh, yeah, cool." And because the two guys that I knew, Officer Joe and I forget the other guys, they used to come in, hang out in the mechanics room. They used to bring me tea or whatever, stuff like that, and hang out for a while, and then they'd get a call. So anyway, okay, fine. I know the sergeant now. I know a couple of the other guys. Take a look at the car, and they take off. About, I don't know, a couple of weeks later, in comes a marked car with a driver and the captain of the 25th precinct.
Okay.
Introduces himself, thanking me again for all the stuff I do for the cars and the guys. All right, Cap. Gives me his card. He says, "You have any problems, you call over there and you tell them that the garage, the sanitation garage has a problem. They'll be over." "Okay, Cap." So a while later, I got the cab up on the truck. I got the engine running. I'm doing stuff. All of a sudden, all three doors are just clogged with cop cars, unmarked, marked, guns drawn, and they come right over to me. "Jeff, where's the gunfire? Where?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "There's nothing going on." They came to me first and then searched the building.
Okay.
Make sure I was okay.
There was nobody there?
I don't know if they found anybody or
okay.
not, but I didn't see anybody. I didn't hear any gunfire. I don't know what you're talking about.
They're at the wrong spot. Somebody got shot somewhere.
But people don't realize this is like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You're in Harlem. You're in I wound up in the South Bronx. Some of the more, I don't know if you call it dangerous or violent communities in the city. I worked in all of them.
Right.
One garage in Brooklyn, gunfire every night. I went out for a truck. I got yelled at. I mean, here's Snowflake going out in one of these communities at 3 o'clock in the morning to get a gun, and there's gunfire going on. "Are you crazy? Get the hell in the garage. We'll go get the truck." Stuff like that. It was fun.
So that, well, probably looks now safer than Manhattan, the way Manhattan is now, right?
What I used to do, going out into the streets 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, working on garbage trucks or whatever vehicle, I could not do that now because of the situation going on in the city. Yeah. And not because, well, I guess it would be because I'm white now, but back then, I never carried a gun, a knife, a razor. In some of these more dangerous neighborhoods, I had no fear. Yeah. And those people, yeah, they came up to me. One guy came up to me when I was finished in the South Bronx. "Hey man, I got a hold of a couple of dollars. You got a couple of dollars?" I said, "Listen, pal, I got a screwdriver, pair of pliers, and an adjustable wrench. You want them to go sell them? Yeah, be my guest." I says, "Look at me. I'm dirty, I'm filthy, I'm crawling around a garbage truck. This is what I got. You can use it, you want it, be my guest. Otherwise, I got nothing for you." "All right, bro, maybe the next time." No. And that was the way it was. Nowadays, I don't know what would go on.
Nowadays, it doesn't matter. They shoot, right? They shoot little kids nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I really don't know. And I even said to my wife, I said, "You know, what I used to do, because I'm retired 11 years now, I could never do that again." Yeah. And I guess it's all over, though.
Well, yeah. It's just what's going on. It's just insane. You know, you don't know what's going to happen, where or when.
Yeah.
So from there, you went to retire.
Well, for 24 of the 30 years that I worked for the city, I always had a second job.
Okay.
While I was working for the city, I had the boys' club, the building super. I'd go back and forth because we moved up to Byram the last 11 years or 12 years I was on a city job. So I left the club when we moved up here. About a year after we moved up here, I left the club, so did my wife, and we found work up here. Plus I still had the city job. So I was going back and forth from Byram to Manhattan and then the South Bronx. I was even going back to Brooklyn when I first started, we first moved up there, but then I got transferred. So when I got up here, we tried opening up our own greeting card and gift shop in Lake Mohawk Plaza. Well, that lasted about 8 months because they would rather drink than buy a gift or a card for somebody, because we were right next to we used to call them, what do we used to call well, they called it packaged goods.
Packaged goods.
A bunch of drunks. Anyway, but that's my own opinion. I'm allowed to be opinionated, right?
Yes, you are.
So they would come in and they'd look at stuff and and then, do I have enough money to go next door? And put the cards down, put the gifts down.
Now, was that Crows?
That was like his Crows. We were like diagonally. You had Arthur's the St. Moritz.
Okay.
We were like right across the road from there.
Okay.
It used to be, I forget what it used to be, but we had we used to call them liquor stores. So the packaged goods store. And I forget what was on the other side. Well, we were right there. And it used to be a restaurant up there. But before that, it was a greeting card and gift shop. And they said, you'll wake out great because we didn't realize why they left.
Nobody buys cards unless
So we were only in there about 8 months. And it fell flat on its face. I lost all kinds of money on that deal. So then where was I going with that? So then I get Susie was out of work then. She found work and back and forth, the little things, and then she hooked up with the dentist's office where she is now. She's got like 18 years there.
Oh, really?
So she was okay. She was cool. So I still needed a second job because everything's so much more expensive in Jersey, and we didn't really realize that when we first moved up there. So I went to work for this truck repair outfit, and I was hired as part-time because that's all I wanted. But then this guy wanted me to leave the city job and work for him full-time, and I said, I'm part-time. I'm a garage guy. He had me on the side of Route 80 changing tractor-trailer tires. I said, no.
This sounds like fun.
No, this ain't gonna work. So, and then the county college had a thing for a maintenance guy. Susie found it, and so I went there, and I quit the trucking place, and the college called me, and I was there for like 12 and a half years.
Oh, okay.
Plus working for the city. So the two jobs, I was getting about 4 hours sleep a day, plus what I could borrow from the city job. Who was the mayor at that time? I don't know who the mayor was at that time. I went through 4 or 5 mayors.
I don't know if it was after Juliana. It was.
It was probably Bloomberg.
Yeah.
So
Grandma Bloomberg. You can only drink as much soda as I tell you.
How he swindled a third term is still besides me. I don't know. That's a whole nother story. I couldn't wait. I started out with Mayor Koch. Went to Mayor Dinkins, went to Giuliani, and then Bloomberg. First day on the city job, I saw Mayor Koch.
Oh, really?
Hey, Mayor Koch, how am I doing? I work for you now. But then at the college, I worked there for 12 and a half years, plus working the city job. So Susie was already working at the dentist office, the dental office. I made some amazing friends, and I met amazing people at that college.
Really?
Yeah, I would go to the president of the college, who's PhD, some wrote books, some this, that, and the other thing, and I would sit down in his office, and we would just, the one president of the college, we would just talk sports.
Okay.
And it was like, here I am, high school graduate, yeah, kid from New York, and here I am sitting with a PhD and president of a college, and we're just talking like we're talking now.
Right.
And it was another Dr. McKenzie. I'll never forget this man. He was really fantastic. He wrote a couple books, and he used to work in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Oh, really?
He knew presidents, he knew senators, Congress, whatever you want to call. But yet he would sit across his desk with me and just talk to me like a everyday person. There were no airs. There were no...
You're an everyday person. That's why you're on the show.
Well, thank you very much. But it was like none of them would talk down to me and everything. We'd have great conversations. And he took very good care of my son, because Brian had graduated high school and he was trying the community college thing. This Dr. McKenzie said, Jeff, when Brian gets here, send him right to my office. And he kind of like took him under his wing, looked after him,
cool.
So really great people at that college. I can't say enough about them. When I finally moved on to where I'm working now...
Wait, let's not skip one spot.
Okay, no, where you want to go?
When you wanted to leave, you left, but there was a gentleman who was pretty mad at you, right?
Oh, at the city job?
Yeah, at the city
job.
Oh,
yeah. I'm sorry. I keep going back and forth. I forget some good stuff. But so I was around 30 years working for the city. I figured that was enough time for any municipality or job. I was getting tired, and I was going back and forth on Route 80, and I hadn't even had a close call. And I said to my wife, I says, would you mind if I retired? And she said, well, no, if you think the numbers are all there and everything. She says, you do what you got to do. You did your time. So I said, and also I started explaining to her about, I haven't even had a close call driving from Byram to, at that time, the South Bronx. She said, no. She says, you do what you got to do. So I go in on, for January 29th, June 29th, I'm sorry, 2009. And I go, it's a Sunday night for a Monday. I go in, I do my shift, didn't say a word to anybody. And each morning in that garage, they had a minister, a legitimate minister, and the guys would all stand around. They'd say a prayer, and God bless the trucks, God bless the guys, but make sure. And I'd walk up there because the mechanics. I said, oh, Rev. What about God bless the mechanic? Who the hell keeps their trucks rolling? Oh, and God bless Jeff, the night mechanic. And so that last morning, I go up there, and they included me in the prayer. And then they have their roll call, whatever. So I said, hey guys, before you leave, I said, listen, this is my last day. I'm leaving. After this morning, I'm leaving. I'm done. I had grown men with tears in their eyes, because I had been there like 9 years. I had grown men with tears in their eyes because I was leaving. That day mechanic, he don't do a damn thing. Come on, brother Jeff, you got to stay. You got to fix our trucks. I said, no, guys, my time is done. So I went from the South Bronx. I went to downtown Brooklyn to go to the pension board. They told me that I had to get the information from the sanitation, I guess, human resources or whatever for the mechanics. They would in turn send them all the information, then I could retire. Okay, so I go from the downtown Brooklyn, I go back up to the South Bronx, get in my truck, go to Maspeth, Queens, where the guy was for the sanitation for all my records, go upstairs, and I knew him for a lot of years. He said, hey, Jeff, what are you here for? I want to retire. All right. Well, he starts clicking on the computer, and he pulled up from the day I started to that day that I had just signed out, came right up on the computer.
Oh, cool.
So he's clicking away. So he looks at me. He said, Jeff, when do you want this to start? I said, I'm done, man. I'm never going back. All right, Jeff. So he does all this finagling and looking at the calendar and looking at my history, and he says, okay, Jeff, now this is June 29th, 2009. He said, all right, Jeff, he says, your close of business day will be February 16th, 2010. Your official retirement date will be February 17th, 2010. I was off for 7.5 months getting paid from the city of New York, and I didn't have to go back to that garage.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I said, well, what about Doyle? Who's going to tell Doyle, me or you? He was the night supervisor. He said, don't worry about Doyle, because he had a bad reputation throughout. I even threatened to run him over with a garbage truck one night. So he was just a sneaky scum. So so I find out that when he found out that night, he was yelling. He was calling me an MF, and he was this and that. That son of a bitch. The least he could have done was tell. I didn't have to.
Right.
So a few weeks later, I go in for my check because they hadn't been mailing them to me yet. And he's standing there. I said, I hear you were crying like a little bitch. What do you mean? I said, you were calling me all kinds of names that I would, if I come back, I would never go back to the garage. Who do I think I am? I said, let me tell you something, pal. I could come back tomorrow. I am a senior man. I am bid in that district. Guess where you'd have to put me? I said, so don't mouth off because you're just a piece of crap. So he didn't like me at all.
So you're there, and now we come up to, what do you do now?
Was I working at the college? Yeah, I was working at the college. So I leave the city. I'm still working at the college. About a year after I retired from the city, the college let me go because of reduction in workforce. Nothing that I did wrong. I wasn't, but reduction in workforce. So, all right. So now I'm unemployed. I mean, I'm getting the pension from the city. So I apply for unemployment, and they do not like older people. They didn't like my resume. They didn't like this. They didn't like that. They really were helping me try to find a job. Yeah. So that's when my wife found an ad for a maintenance guy for where I work now. I went there. I put the application in, and I was talking to one of the guys at the college. And he says, oh, I know this guy. He's the head of maintenance. I'll call him. I said, let's see what happens. So, how did it go? So I'm waiting for his call. Nothing. So I call this guy back. I said, listen, can you just ask your friend just to look at my application? Not for nothing. That afternoon, this guy calls me. Can you come in for an interview? Yeah, of course. So I go in there. Now, when I first applied for the job, I was in a sweatshirt, jeans, sneakers, and they said, do you want to do the initial interview? I said, well, look at me. I says, I'm a slob. I says, I'm to the old thing, first impressions. Right. So I said, I'm really not comfortable. Well, so I did it. Then he called me for the second interview. Second interview with him, I had a suit and tie on.
Okay.
I sat down with him, told him what I can do, what he expects of me. A couple of days later, they called me to do the paperwork, and I was there up until now. Right. So I'm getting near the end.
Getting a full retirement?
Yeah, I want to go play with the grandkids.
Down in Virginia, was it?
No. The grandkids are up in Port Jervis, New York, that area.
Okay.
And the wife and I, we just desperately want to get out of Jersey. And we want to go near the grandkids.
Right.
And the thing is, if I go to work, it's because I want to, not because I have to.
Right.
It's something that keeps the wheels turning up here, and I just don't turn into a sponge somewhere.
Right. Well, it's something to do. You got to work.
Yeah. Well, that's
otherwise
me.
you become like me.
I
and I don't know who I am now.
No, I can't just because one of the guys that I work with, he loves to fish, and he keeps asking me. I don't have the patience for that. I'm not that type of person. No, I gotta be.
Last time I went fishing, I got a $100 ticket.
Oh, jeez.
That was the last time I went fishing.
Yeah.
The time before that, I fell into the lake.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I used to go with my dad. And I just couldn't get into it. I just don't have the patience to sit there drowning worms. You know?
Drowning worms. That's about it up here. It's not like you're out on the ocean and you're pulling these.
Up here, I just can't get over it. I don't fit in. Even after all these years, I've been up here for 23 years. I still don't fit in.
Yeah. When you come from the city to here.
Yeah,
they tried to get me to move up for years from where we were, and I was like, "What's going to be there, cows?"
We've
been up here a long time now.
Well, we mostly did it for my son because he was about 13 or 14 when we decided to actually move to Jersey, thinking it was so much better. Because in the old neighborhood, which was changing like crazy, we had a high school like 2 blocks away from the house, but it was getting more and more violent and stuff like that. So even he wanted to get out of there. Yeah. So we did it basically for him.
Well, that's good. You got him out where,
Yeah,
but the neighborhood's changed. The neighborhood just,
Yeah, I mean, I understand everybody has to live somewhere.
Yeah.
But the way this one, I don't know, Guyanese and the Sikhs, or whatever they're called, came into the neighborhood, it was like they just took over. They wanted no part of whites, blacks, Hispanics. They just wanted their whole thing.
Oh, really?
And at one time, there were so many Guyanese in Richmond Hill that they were going to go to the New York State legislation and try to have the name changed to Little Guyana.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I said to Susie, "That's it. We're done. We're out."
Yeah. So. Everybody should intermingle.
Well,
that way, there's no difference from one person to the other. If you get to know them, they probably ain't any different than you are.
Yeah, but it's not like when I was growing up. Italians, Irish, German, everybody mixed. You got along. But these people just didn't want that.
Yeah.
And they were lowballing everybody on the price of the houses that they were trying. So Susie and I said, "No, that's it. We're getting the hell out.
Time to get out."
Yeah. So that's basically it. I mean.
All right. We got your story.
Oh, jeez.
You look here at the. You have to refer to me as Jesus. I might look like him.
No, this was fun. This was good.
It was great having you on.
I thank you. I appreciate it. This was really good. I've never done anything like this before. So
I can't believe. I think you've been on other shows before.
Nah.
You had all this planned. You were ready to go. You were on the market.
Yeah, that's why I jumped. That's why I jumped back and forth. That's why I jumped back and forth.
You want to be in the same spot all the time. And, hey, this is boring. Why does he talk about another town?
Nah. It sounds like I was all over the place, but New York and Jersey.
Right.
I went from Richmond Hill, Queens to Byram, New Jersey.
Yeah. We went from one part of Jersey to the other.
Oh, God.
Thanks for coming, Jeff.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This was very nice.